100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
Hello and welcome back to Cardiff Airport on a nice summer's day. It's the busy summer season at the airport, and with the Football World Cup in Germany, there is increased demand for flights from football fans that want to travel and experience the tournament firsthand. Meanwhile, the latest construction project, a new parking garage, is coming along nicely and is eagerly awaited by travelers and the airport management alike. Over at the terminal, we find this Avro 100 of Brussels Airlines that will be leaving Cardiff with a delay, as the aircraft still is being prepared for its return flight to Brussels. With boarding yet to begin, a departure within the next 20 minutes becomes increasingly unlikely. Things are definitely going better over at this ATR 72 of JSR, as the plane is almost ready for its flight to Prague, and with still 10 minutes until the scheduled departure, the turnaround could hardly go any better. Due to the World Cup in Germany, Lufthansa is offering more flights and more destinations over the summer than ever before, and one such flight can be observed here, with this ATR 42 of Contact Air that is flying on behalf of Lufthansa to and from Stuttgart these days. Loading the last luggage and getting ready to push within the next few minutes is the 737-700 of KLM that will be returning to Amsterdam. Next, we find this A321 of Lufthansa that these days is using the largest single-aisle aircraft in their fleet on the route to Frankfurt. With 10 minutes left on the clock, but still quite a bit of luggage that needs to be loaded, the plane might end up leaving with a slight delay. An on-time departure seems to be on the cards, however, for the A319 of Lufthansa that has been deployed on the airline's Munich route. Luggage is currently being loaded and boarding has just begun, with 20 minutes left until the scheduled pushback. Thomas Cook Airlines is today present at Cardiff with one of their Boeing 757-200 aircraft that is bringing sun-hungry passengers to various destinations in southern Europe. The next flight will bring passengers to Heraklion in Greece. This 767-300 of First Choice that currently is in pushback arrived earlier this morning from Birmingham on a transfer flight and is now ready to re-enter service with a flight to Sharm el-Sheikh. At one of the gates of the terminal extension, we find today's Dubai flight, of course operated by Emirates. The A330-200 arrived on schedule 1 hour ago and is currently being refueled in preparation of the airline's scheduled return flight. Next up, we find a very rare visitor here at the airport, and local spotters have been very keen on getting good shots of this A330-200 of Air Greenland that today is visiting the airport on a special charter flight. Later this afternoon, the plane will return with passengers to Greenland. On the other side of the terminal, we find this Fokker 100 of Air France that still has 30 minutes left on the ground until the plane's return flight to Paris Charles de Gaulle. Then we find this A320 of Air Berlin that is getting ready for its flight to Düsseldorf. With 5 minutes left, the plane is about to get closed up and pushed out of the ramp, so an on-time departure seems likely. Taxiing past on the way to the ramp is this Transavia 737-800 that has arrived from Eindhoven to where the plane will be returning in about 40 minutes. And in the cargo ramp we find this Avro 100F of TNT that in 20 minutes will be heading for East Midlands Airport. It looks like the plane is ready to go, but will have to wait for its assigned slot. And now, before we head over to the remote stands, it's time for the news. DBA withdrawal. After last year's withdrawal of the German airline HLX Express and Eurowings from Cardiff, it was today announced that German carrier DBA, currently operating in competition with Lufthansa on the Cardiff-Munich route, will be closing down its operations by the end of July. The airline stated a tough market situation as the reason for the route closure. Financial trouble for Cardiff Airport subsidiary. In anticipation of the past base opening at Cardiff Airport by Ryanair, the airport had established a maintenance branch. Since the withdrawal of Ryanair, the airport has struggled to find sufficient customers for the airport's maintenance subsidiary. Due to the now strained financial situation, doubts about the airport's engagement in the maintenance subsidiary are starting to raise. British Airways regional network for sale. After months of speculation, it was today announced that British Airways wishes to withdraw its engagement in serving the regional network across the British Isles. BMI and Flybe have been named as potential candidates for a takeover of the regional route network. The management of Cardiff Airport and many other airports across the UK are sure to follow this developing story closely. Arriving with 20 minutes delay from London Heathrow is this A319 of British Airways. As Cardiff Airport's currently largest customer, the airport management will surely be looking concerned at today's breaking news. But this should give even more motivation for the ground crews in trying to minimize the ongoing delay of the outbound flight today. In one of the remote stands, we find this Fokker 100 of Portugalia that arrived earlier today on a special summer charter from Porto to where the plane will be returning at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In pushback, we find this MD-90 of Saudia that will be leaving to Geneva next on its way back to Jeddah. Ready for pushback, but currently waiting for the Saudia Mad Dog to clear the way is the Mad Dog of Meridiana that will be heading back to the airline's home base at Olbia. Taxiing past the Mad Dogs is this ERJ 145 of BA that has just arrived from Glasgow and will be heading to Aberdeen in about 50 minutes time. After today's news, it will be interesting to see how long this will remain a common sight at Cardiff Airport. Waiting in the ramp for this afternoon's flight to Tenerife is the Boeing 757-200 of Monarch. The plane arrived earlier this morning and was scheduled for a morning flight but had to be taken out of service due to a minor technical issue. Now the plane is however back in shape and will return to service soon. Next up we find this A320 of Germanwings that will be leaving to Berlin-Schönefeld in about 45 minutes time. After the last passengers have deboarded the plane, the crew is now being picked up by a bus as the crew has reached the end of their shift for today. A new crew is standing ready to take over from here. Taxiing towards the runway, we find the CRJ 700 of Lufthansa that is serving the special World Cup route of the airline to Berlin-Tegel Airport. After a short stay here in Cardiff, the plane is now leaving with a small delay for the German capital. About to land on the active and battling with some sidewinds is this A310-200F of Bongo Air Cargo, the brand new cargo airline that has established a base here at Cardiff Airport. Later this afternoon, the plane will continue to Nantes for the plane's next scheduled flight. Over at the gate, we find this privately owned ERJ 145 that came in from Cork, Ireland, and has filed a flight plan for a flight later this afternoon to Gdansk in Poland. While the airport's own maintenance facility is struggling to find enough customers, the BA maintenance area is busy as always, with several aircraft being serviced currently. Now with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed the video, then hit that like button, and if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe. With that, see you in the next episode of Cardiff.